Hey, good day to everybody. Welcome to another episode of Andrew's Life. Today, I'm going to do a video of the northeast side of Indianapolis. I'm going to do some of northeast, and I'm going to do some other parts of the east side on another video. Right now, I am at the I'm at the Budgets Inn Hotel here in Northeast Indianapolis. I just want to drive around here just to show you guys a little glimpse of what you're going to see throughout this part of the city of Indianapolis. Now, Indianapolis tends to get a whole lot of negative publicity, and I will go ahead and say right now that Indianapolis is not that bad of a city. However, this side of town that I'm doing a video on right now is the poor section of Indianapolis. This is the ghetto of Indianapolis. Like, whenever you hear about shootings or stabbings or any major violent crime that goes on in Indianapolis, this side of town is mostly where the crime took place at. That as you guys will see, there's pockets of this side of town that aren't that bad. And for the most part, that particular neighborhood is relatively quiet. And then there's other parts of this town where it's ridiculous. A cockroach wouldn't be safe in that area. So, if for any reason you choose to move to Indianapolis and you have to move over here on the northeast side of town, I mean, the northeast side of Indianapolis, I would say, is very much a hit and miss type of situation. You gotta really know where to go in order to find some housing in a neighborhood that's gonna be safe. Now, the housing prices here in Indianapolis have skyrocketed like crazy. I mean, I would say for the last maybe 5 years or so, housing prices around this city has skyrocketed. It has been up through the roof. Now, this housing market, as you guys know, is super crazy. So, of course, housing prices here in Indianapolis are insane. I mean, of course, that's in accordance to Indiana standards. I mean, as you guys know, the housing prices here in Indiana are way cheaper than many parts of the United States. But here in Indianapolis, I guess if you want to compare Indianapolis to other larger cities, like larger cities on the West Coast or even Chicago, yeah, the housing prices here are way lower compared to those cities. But when you compare Indianapolis to other smaller cities in Indiana, when you compare Indianapolis to Fort Wayne, the housing prices here are way higher, like much higher. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, the videos I've done so far of smaller communities, if you went into any of those communities with, let's say, $75,000 and you wanted to buy a house, not only would you be in a safe and quiet community, but your house would also be in decent condition. I mean, your house would be move-in condition ready, and many of those properties would come with an upwards of an acre of land. Now, if you take that same $70-some thousand and you come here to Indianapolis to buy a house, I mean, $70,000 will buy you some $70,000 to $75,000, which is on the low end here in Indianapolis. Will buy you something that is move-in condition ready, if you're wanting to live in a neighborhood like this one. Now, if you're wanting to live in a more affluent part of Indianapolis, of course, you're going to have to pay closer to, I would say, $110,000 to $120,000 for a house in move-in condition. Now, there's plenty of houses here in Indianapolis, especially around this side of town, that you can buy for real below 70-some grand. Just understand that the majority of those houses are going to need an extensive amount of repairs done to them. And the neighborhoods are, in most cases, your neighborhoods are going to be rough. I mean, you're going to be in the areas where there's going to be a whole bunch of shooting, a whole bunch of drug selling, and just a whole bunch of shit that most people wouldn't want in their community. And if you guys look real closely, some of these houses will have bars up on the window. Now, here in East Indianapolis, when you see bars on the window, these bars are not put up for decoration. These bars are put up for protection. Because around this side of town, you have a higher number of home invasions and things of that sort. So like I said, if you come here to the northeast side of Indianapolis, it's paramount that you do your due diligence, you do your research, and you drive through these neighborhoods during the week and over the weekend, at daylight and at nighttime, and even wake up in the middle of the night and come around here. Because if you come around here and you move to the wrong neighborhood, you're going to be extremely sorry that you did, especially if you're going to purchase. Now, for those of you that, well, never mind. I can't say what I want to say, because if I do, I'll probably get in trouble. So never mind that thought. But anyways, northeast side of Indianapolis is very hit and miss. And also, when you come around here, you gotta watch out for some of these people, because some of these people will be driving crazy. They be cutting people off and just doing all kinds of crazy shit. So you gotta watch out for that around this side of town as well. A lot of people around here don't necessarily like to stop at traffic lights when they're supposed to. But basically, if you're looking for a house to purchase and you're looking to spend less and you're looking for something that's moving condition ready, these neighborhoods I'm driving through right now are going to basically be the type of communities that you can expect to find a house in for that price range. I mean, I would say in this particular community, the average cost of one of these houses will probably be at least in the 80s at this point. Now, maybe there's a few houses around here that might be priced in the 70s, but I would say at best, if you're looking for something that's moving condition ready, you can find something like that in a community like this one for around, I would say, $75,000. Now, this particular neighborhood is relatively quiet. It's not a bad little neighborhood at all. I mean, if you're going to live in Indianapolis on a budget and you're going to be on this side of town, this neighborhood I'm driving through right now is not a bad neighborhood. It's pretty quiet for the most part. Now, I would say for the northeast side of Indianapolis, If you're looking to buy a house here in Indiana, I'm here in Indianapolis, personally, my advice would be to stay away from Arlington and stay away from East 21st. And although this neighborhood right here is right off of East 21st and it's close to Arlington, I mean, this particular area is not bad at all. But if you see a house that's up for sale and it's right up on Arlington or East 21st, my advice would be to skip buying it and to look at something else. There's even a few houses in this neighborhood that will come with a decent sized lot, and you'll be in an area where there's a significant amount of greenery, and houses aren't going to be on top of each other. I mean, this area right here is still Northeast Indianapolis. So now, granted, if you want to live in an area like this one, you're going to be looking at, I would say, it'd be a bit of $150,000. But the other area that I just got out of a minute ago, you can probably find something like that for around 75 grand. And by the way, people, this is all Northeast Indianapolis. So despite the fact that the vast majority of your violent crimes in Indianapolis happen on this side of town, Northeast Indianapolis, I mean, within Northeast Indianapolis, there's pockets of this side of town that are decent, where some of these houses, quite frankly, are rather pricey. And if you didn't know any better, you wouldn't be able to tell some of these neighborhoods over here versus some of the neighborhoods off in the suburbs. Now, I was hoping to get some rough areas on this video, but looks like on this video I'm only going to have enough time to get the areas that are half decent. So I'm going to do another video of this side of town, and I'm going to show you some communities of Northeast Indianapolis where you don't want to live. I mean, a lot of these areas around here that I'm showing you right now. Now this area that I'm driving through right now is an example of a neighborhood that is relatively affordable here in Indianapolis. To where your crime is not going to be as bad as other parts of this city. This area right here, I mean, man, I don't know. This area right here does look a little questionable. And let's check it out. Now, for those of you that know this particular area well, please leave a comment below for other viewers to gain the proper knowledge about these communities. I mean, I don't live in Indianapolis, and back when I did used to live in Indianapolis, I lived over on the far northwest side off of 86 by St. Vincent. So yeah, please leave a comment below and fill in the other viewers on on some knowledge of Northeast Indianapolis. Well, you know what? This area right here is a prime example of an area where I personally wouldn't want to live. And when I turn my van around, I'm going to show you why. You're going to see why. I mean, like I told you a minute ago, this side of town is very hit and miss. And now this is Pleasant Ridge Apartments. I'm in their parking lot. Now, for those of you that are looking to rent, I would not come into these apartments for nothing. Now, if you look real carefully, you'll see some garbage. And typically, when you're looking for an area that may have the potential of being questionable or just downright ghetto, whenever you look around and you see the streets are unkept and you see a whole bunch of garbage all over the place, I mean, it's not always an indication. I mean, typically it's an indication. Not always, but for the most part, it's an indication. Like this right here. Most likely whoever was in that house got evicted. Now, this particular street, and I could be wrong, but this particular street I would say is a bit questionable. just by looking around at the streets. I mean, the streets here are very unmaintained. Now this part down here doesn't look as bad. Now that little street I just got done driving down, and you know, I can't really make a healthy judgment of whether that's a good area to live or not. I'm gonna just say, just by first looks, I would say it's questionable. Now those apartments definitely, in my book, would be a definite hell no. Now, the majority of these neighborhoods I just got done doing a video on, I would say for the most part, are not bad places to live here in Indianapolis. I mean, they're not the best, but they're not bad.